welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
You're listening to the 62nd most popular podcast for people who still think that a serving hatch is the height of sophistication.
Ian, my friend, I'm back! How are you?
I'm good, Alan. And listeners, just to confirm, Alan is not in a Turkish prison.
I could have been in a Turkish prison, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yes, I'm not in a Turkish prison. How good was Swift Half last week?
It was really, really good with Meg on. So we just need someone to replace me, Alan, and the ratings will go through the roof.
Yeah, Meg replaces me, someone to replace you, and we sorted it. We've moved on.
Rich for life.
I don't listen, secret here, listeners, I don't listen to the Swift Half often. Yeah, we record it, it's in my head, and I don't like listening to myself. But I listened to the whole of you and Megan, and I thought, this is a great podcast. This is like one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. Who came up with this idea?
Well, I think it was possibly Will Chung who gave me a list of people that I should consider auditioning for the role of landlord, landlady. So thank you, Will, and thanks, Meg, for stepping up. And yeah, Alan, you do kind of listen to the Swift Half, but you kind of listen to it as you're editing it, don't you? So you don't listen to the episode from front to back. It's like when you pick up a magazine and you just flick through the articles. Yeah?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. But this one, while I was editing, I didn't listen to it. I'm a little secret here. You sent it to me, and I got back in the UK at 5 p.m. Friday morning. And literally, I went to bed, I had 2 hours sleep, I was up, I edited it, and I just took out all the silencers and any ums and ahs, and just did some sound work on it and published it. And we got it out for 9 o'clock. I think about 9 o'clock it was out, which I think was pretty cool.
I think it was. We did upset our listeners who listen to us on the morning run, who are going to be really upset when this one comes out at noon on Friday.
Like that noon on Friday. Join the Patreon club is what I'm going to say.
It would have helped last week.
It wouldn't have helped at all last week. I'm actually surprised that we never got any Patreons actually messaging me. The people who talked about it not being out on time, it was none of the Patreons that messaged me. So
right. Well, they obviously listened to us the week before when we apologised in advance. And yeah, we've done really poorly by Patreons. I'm very sorry, because not only did your Swift Half get to you late, UKHXR this week, you possibly had about 2 hours on everyone else. And those 2 hours were probably from 3 a.m. by the time Alan had finished editing it.
Yeah, that's about right. While we're on talking of patrons and that, quick shout out, we have got a new Patreon. So Nikki, you know her as Nikki Firefly, but Nikki has become a patron. So thank you for joining us, Nikki. Going to give a shout out, I think, to patrons next week. We'll give a shout out to them all next week because they're all very valid and very much appreciated. But yeah, big thank you.
You've not got the list up, have you?
I have got the list up. Do you want to go through them if you want me to?
Let's do it next week. Let's build up the anticipation.
The anticipation.
We've probably already built up the anticipation to Alan. After Turkey, what are you drinking?
Well, as you know, Ian, that next week it's overload build week for me. So this week is a completely alcohol-free week. And yeah, so I went to the local, we've got a Ward's Cash and Carry close by to us. And I think I mentioned it before, I tend to get some really good cheap beer, especially alcohol-free. And this week they had got Big Drop Brewing Company, 3 cans for £1. So say from Yorkshire without telling I'm from Yorkshire. And I'm drinking Cobra Mayo today, which is an alcohol-free like craft beer. It's very fruity, lots of mango and and that in it, and lime, and yeah, it's very nice. Wonderful.
I do like the Big Drop beer, Alan. It is quite good. They do a milk stout as well, which is alcohol free, which is quite nice. So, listener, if you do want some alcohol free beer, go and check them out. Speaking of beer, Alan, something weird happened on Friday night in London
While you were down at High Rocks?
while we were down at High Rocks. Have you ever been to Hammersmith Station?
I think I have, but I don't know why. Maybe in my footballing days. Is it near West Ham? Is Hammersmith near West Ham?
No, I think West Ham's East London. This is West London,
Okay,
which
go on.
is weird with them being called West Ham, but they're in
Yeah.
East London. But whatever, we'll roll with that. But Hammersmith, it has like this whole kind of shopping centre, which is mainly food and that on top of it, which is cool, including a craft beer place.
Oh, wow.
And here's the weird thing that went in on Friday. So we popped in there. I got a hazy, because I like my hazies. And
Yes.
I wasn't driving anywhere, so I could drink. And my beer came to 3.6% APR, give or take.
Okay, that's good steady beer. Good session beer.
Yeah, it was a good session beer. Jen got a sour because she loves the sours.
Yeah.
Hers was only 2.8%. I had a more alcoholic beer than Jen.
Did she know that it was only 2.8 when she ordered it?
Don't believe so.
And that's the reason why.
I think that was my first beer probably since January. I don't think I've actually drank since January. I can't recall having a beer between then and now, other than non-alcohol. Oh, no, I was on lime and soda all night.
Was you on lime and soda all night?
Yeah, because I was really impressed because they had lime and soda on the line.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were on lime and soda. I know I bought you a lime and soda. I think I bought Jen a drink. I couldn't remember you on lime and soda all night, though. I know you were before we recorded, but I didn't know all night. What lime and soda? What are you drinking today, though?
Courtesy of Tesco's Haydock. Again, I'll give them a plug because they've still not let me down with the meal deal, Alan. Take a look at this.
Lucasade Sport Blue Force. Like it, Ian?
I have never seen blue Lucasade in my life.
That means it's full of E numbers, mate. You don't get blue Lucasade unless they put lots of E numbers in.
I'm convinced they've put lots of Smurfs in it. They've blended up whatever he's called.
Papa Smurf.
Papa Smurf. I was going to call him Uncle Bulgaria, but that's Wombles. But yeah, they blended up Papa Smurf, and he's now in a Lucasade bottle.
What's it taste like? Is it bubblegum flavour? Normally blue stuff tastes bubblegum flavour.
You know what it tastes like?
Go on.
Tropical Lucasade. You know the one that's a little bit off orange? I think
Yeah.
it's got passion fruit and all that. It tastes exactly the same. They have given me passion fruit Lucasade and chopped up a Smurf and coloured it.
Just blended it in. Oh, I like how you just change everything around to something that is more weird and wonderful than it actually is. Would you like to hear about my almost getting locked up in Turkey?
No, I don't think anyone wants to hear about that. Should we talk about OCR?
Oh, I don't know if anyone does want to know about it, but I'm going to tell you anyway, Ian, because I've Turkey. I haven't been away for a long time. Never been abroad for a long time. Absolutely great holiday, great company. Met some people out there. Had a really amazing time. On the night before coming home, so the day before, went into the middle of Bodrum, bought some, haggled with a few people, got a few bargains. Got called a few names by people I was haggling with, was robbing X and things like that, and Dick Turpin. Someone called me Dick Turpin, and I was just like, no, I'm just from Yorkshire. But got some stuff, got a couple of bags, about 4 or 5 bags, and I'm walking back to the hotel. Paula's at the side of me, we're holding hands and just generally walking back, chit-chatting. Next thing you know, I bit of a crack on the back of the head. So first of all, I looked up, I thought something had fallen, I don't know what had fallen, but something had fallen on my head. So I looked up, nothing there, looked on the floor, nothing there. And I turned around and there was this teenager there, like a 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old, with something in his hand that he'd hit me with, I don't know what it was, but something in his hand he'd hit me on the back of the head with. And I turned around and I think he realised that, hang on a minute, he'd not knocked me out. So he'd better set off. So he set off like Linford Christie. Unfortunately, I'm not like Linford Christie anymore, and I couldn't catch him. But I think if I had, I might have been locked up, Ian. Yeah, I think he was trying to mug us, and well, that's the only thing I can think of. But the one thing that annoyed me more than anything else, Ian, I went back to the hotel, yeah, and they were pretty good in the hotel, really like, oh, sorry, this doesn't happen, blah, 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 blah. They called the police, and the police said, we're not interested.
Did the police attend, or did they just say on the phone they weren't interested?
Just said on the phone, we're not interested, which I think is pretty poor.
I guess so, but I wonder if they knew you were leaving, because I can't believe I'm going to counteract the police being lazy here, but I'm going to... Discourse is good, but I wonder if from their point of view, they'd get there, they'd write a report, you'd go home because you weren't permanently hurt. In actual fact, it might have helped. We don't know. We'll find out in the rest of the episode, listener. But you'd go home. Even if you found him, you're not going to be there for a witness.
True, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't recognise him either. If I'm going to be honest, I'd say I wouldn't recognise him. But it just felt like a bit of a letdown that no one had rocked up, no one had gone down, no one had seen anyone. It was just like, oh, we're not really bothered. That's how it felt like to me. So, but no, you're probably right. There's not a lot they could have done, but they didn't even go down to the seafront to look for anybody or put a police presence. And we know that because some friends we met there, they went down the following night and there was still no police presence down in that area.
You never know. The little lad might have been police.
It just hit me just to create some havoc for the police. I like it.
Potentially, but it is actually a bit of a teachable moment that when you do go away, we are so used to how comfortable we have it in the UK. We whine, we moan about the police and how they're not doing enough because when someone calls us a nasty name on the internet, they've not sent the armed guys around with the attack dogs to shoot them and maul the perpetrator. We all whine and moan, but we do live in a relatively safe society with relatively good institutions that are there when you need them.
Yeah, we do.
Then when you go abroad, it's sometimes shocking how what we see as a status quo just doesn't exist over there.
Yeah. It made me more aware the following day of my surroundings, if that makes sense. Because we were just literally just walking back, talking, chatting, laughing, just completely unaware of anyone even behind us. But then I did find the next day we had to put back into the middle of Bodrum something else. I did find myself just having a little glance over my shoulder every now and then. So yeah, it did not put me off, but just a little bit of a shake-up, I want to say.
Well, to be fair, the guy probably got the best possible outcome. You didn't, but he probably got the best possible outcome. Because had you hit the ground like a sack of spuds, Paula would have had him.
Paula would have definitely had him. Yes. So when I went after him, Paula followed me, and she got the heels on, but she was like following me, which was even more fun.
So he had a lucky escape.
Yeah.
Never mess with Yorkshire people.
Yeah, I'm not going to say lucky escape. I don't condone fighting, but I was at that moment in time. I was very, very angry person, and I'm glad I didn't get hold of him because you don't know what else they're carrying. He could have had a knife. It could have been much worse for me. And I guess that's the biggest thing that was a little bit worrying, that he did run, and thank God he was faster than me, because it could have turned out bad for either one of us.
Well, it could, because had you caught him in an area where people around didn't know what happened, suddenly you are a giant Englishman beating on a small teenager who's a local.
Yeah, exactly. So yes.
Can we talk about the rest of the holiday, though? Let's not just have your first trip away be about you almost getting mugged. What else happened?
I had a great holiday. But one of the things that did happen, was quite funny. We went on a boat ride and we went to some sulphur springs out in the middle of nowhere. And he pulled up in this little bay, the driver, and he said, This is a cliff jump if anyone wants to do it. It's 8-10 meters high, but where you jump into, instead of the floor being like only 4 or 5 foot deep, there's a big hole in the ocean floor that's like 20 meters deep, so you can jump into it. So of course, Alan, being the first one off the boat, decides that I'm going to have a go at this. You know what I mean? This is adrenaline. This is extreme. So I jumps off the boat, sets off swimming. It was a good swim. I want to say about a 4 or 5 minute swim to get to it, a good 100 meters to get to it. I gets out of the water, turns around, and there's not a single other bloke on this boat's followed me. Everyone's just on the boat watching me climb up this cliff face to jump off into the water. And when I got back, Paula says to me, she says, there was a guy I went to and he went, "Is that your bloke?" And she went, yeah, it is. And he goes, "Is he really going to jump off it?" And she went, "Look, he's a 5-year-old child in a 55-year-old body. What do you think he's going to do?" So yeah, I went and jumped off. Absolutely amazing boat trip we did out there, and that. The whole holiday was really good, really relaxing. Coming home, yeah, another little story for you. Coming home, lands at Luton Airport, stands at the carousel, baggage claim 4, stands there for 30 minutes while everyone's taking the luggage off. Last bag on there is a blue suitcase going round and round and round, and our little striped purple and black bag is nowhere to be seen. So Paula's going, "Oh, all his luggage has gone, vanished, whatever." I said to her, I thought it was great at the time, silver lining, no washing up. No washing in. So yes, we came back with no luggage either. Unfortunately, it's actually rocked up this evening. So they did find it. They said it was on the carousel. I asked them to look at the CCTV footage, and they've admitted it wasn't on the carousel. It might have been another one, but it wasn't on ours. So it's come back pretty damaged as well, though. So I think it's been stuck somewhere. You know, on the truck at the minute, I think it's got stuck somewhere and been battered around a little bit. But all the stuff's there, nothing's missing, so that's good.
Paula get her hairdryer back then?
Yeah. Well, she didn't take it. I convinced her not to take it, which was an amazing thing. She was quite pleased, though, that I took my kit bricks. I took 2 kit bricks as hand luggage on there because they're probably the right size, you know, absolutely perfect sizes thing. So I thought we would pack stuff in them, you know, like towels and stuff like. Oh no, Paula had shoes in them both. She took about 30 pairs of shoes. So if anyone wants to check them out, you know, shoes apparently do fit in quite well into kit bricks. Just ladies' shoes, you know, sandals, things like that. They actually fit perfect into kit bricks, and you can get about 15 pairs into each one of them.
This is possibly going to go on an Alanis Morissette song one day, but Alan Muddy Dog whinging about someone else having too many shoes.
I never thought how that sounded, actually. Yeah.
I guess it's like rain on your wedding day.
It is. We talking about shoes. I had to buy Paula a pair of running shoes while I was out there because we went to the gym and she'd not packed no trainers. So she'd said to me, you know, we're at gym, and the guy in the gym went, "No, you can't come in without trainers on." So we went down to get some trainers from the centre of Bodrum. Wanted £150, €150 for these trainers, and Adidas ones, nice trainers, white ones, and that. And he's going genuine. I'm going, yeah, genuine fakes. And I ended up getting them for €18, which from 150 to 18, as anyone knows, is quite a good deal. But then she decided she didn't want to go into the gym for the rest of the holiday.
Well, they were a nice pair of trainers.
Yeah, they were a nice pair of trainers, but she didn't want to go into the gym. She didn't want to go. But no, it was a really good holiday. Really charged the batteries up. Anyone wants to go to Bodrum? I went to a hotel called the Diamond of Bodrum, and I booked it through Thomas Cook. If you want to go, it's all inclusive. It is a really good hotel. However, rooms. Make sure you don't get a standard room in either. So if you want to go, don't book a standard room. we booked a standard room and had to upgrade because we walked into the room, went to open the curtains, to look out at the balcony, and what was there? A brick wall. It was 4 walls, no windows, anything. So yeah, don't book a standard room. But every other room's quite nice.
Oh gosh. Alan, before we move on to actual OCR news and that, sorry, listener, you knew this was going to happen with this episode. Alan's back. You knew we were going to witter on for longer than usual. Can I just tell you a bit about my journey back from High Rocks London?
Well, first of all, tell me about High Rocks. How good was High Rocks for you? Did you survive it? Because the last time you did solos, you failed on the lunges.
I did, and there's a couple of stories. Yeah, we'll go through stories because we've covered this on Fitness Racing Podcast, but if you've listened to that, fast forward. If not, it's fine. Listen to this. Okay, lunges, mate. Yes, got through them. I'm not going to say it felt light, but it didn't feel heavy. The hardest part was just doing the lunges. I know that sounds silly, but it didn't feel like anything was pushing me down. It just felt like I could have been doing walking lunges, and walking lunges suck anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
So they went okay. Burpees are horrible as usual. They went on forever. The ergs I should have done faster. I was being a bit lazy on those. I got cheated when it came to sleds, Alan.
Why?
Because everyone had been talking about how fast these new sleds were. They are not fast, or at least the one I had wasn't. I got cheated. Everyone else was pushing them things around like they were shopping carts. To me, it felt like a wall.
But that's you on sledges, though, isn't it? Because, we know your sledges are a bit of your nemesis, but you can normally do them.
I can do it, but I wasn't expecting it to be as hard as it was, having watched all the other athletes just say sneeze at them and it went to the other side. So that was that. With lunges, Alan, this is actually a bit of a funny story. I was crowing to the intern Jenna, I'm not sure if I've told her the truth yet, about how I beat 800 other guys at the lunges.
Wow, Ian, that's amazing.
It was. So I think there was 1,800 people who did it. I finished 1,000 something when it came to the lunges. Everything else, I was 1,800 and something else. Yeah, I didn't finish last, but I was very, very close. We'll get to that in a second. But I was crowing because I saw this. And then I looked into it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
So my lunges were about 5 minutes something.
Yeah.
My rock zone time after the lunges was 6 minutes 30, and the out pop-up was right next to the lunges.
Okay. So what's happened there then?
Well, I didn't collapse and just spend 6 minutes in the rock zone.
Yeah.
I think my chip must have got close enough to the end at some point that it just logged me as finishing whilst I was still lunging. So my actual lunges were about 11 minutes.
So as you went up and then down, and then as you're going to go up the next one, you think you went a little bit close to the edge where the chip time is? And
I think that's what it is. I think after my second one, I must have walked way too close because I always go to the sides. As you know, I must have got too close to the out timing chip mat, and that's what caught me. So for around about a day and a half, I was crowing thinking I was awesome at lunges, but no, it turns out I still suck at lunges.
Timing chips don't lie, mate. Timing chips don't lie. You don't suck at lunges.
But speaking of timing chips and well, this one definitely didn't lie. I set a record of wall balls.
What was the record for the wall balls? You can say the longest set of wall balls.
I'm fairly sure that no one else has taken 23 minutes to do the wall balls.
Oh no! What was you struggling on? Hitting the target, or squatting, or just tired in general?
Catching the ball.
Catching the ball.
Yeah, we talked about this. If you remember, I was training for High Rocks. I went to a gym. I tried to do 100 wall balls quickly because a class was coming on, and I caught the ball with my left thumb and just my left thumb.
Yeah.
So I hyperextended it. I was wearing a mini cast thing. On my second wall ball, I screamed bloody murder.
Oh, you didn't catch it again, did you?
I caught it again. I went down like I'd been shot. I let out well, to me, it sounded like a Viking scream, but to everyone else, it was probably a little bit more feminine. But to me, it sounded like a war cry. That's the story I'm sticking with. My poor war ball judge, as I found out later, was experiencing high rocks for the first time. And
Oh,
I was her last person of the day. But
oh, Ian.
big shout out to her. Big shout out to Lindsay McEwen, who came over because she was acting as a head judge on it, because we have multiple head judges there. She came over and helped me and chatted me through it. And we went one at a time, one at a time. And then at one point I just caught it by catching it with my right hand and then using the left hand almost like a claw.
All right, yeah, yeah.
So I managed to start doing them in tens, but yeah, it took forever. I had quite a few pause breaks where I sat down, cross-legged, and it looked like we're having a camp out.
I'm sure. So you talk about Lindsay McEwen being down there. I reckon she's trying to get air miles so she can go to Costa Rica for free because she's attending everything in London at the moment, isn't she?
I suspect she is. I'm not sure, but she could be a pilot. We don't know. She may be a pilot. But yeah, it was great to see. They did some long hours, by the way. They did some really, really long hours because by the time I saw Lindsay, she'd already done the Saturday, the whole shift. She'd already done the Sunday, pretty much the whole shift, because I got there about 10 p.m. They must have been exhausted. Speaking of wall balls, we'll put this on socials, but the night before, Jen was the last to finish at the wall balls because she'd done ladies pro, so she set out quite late.
Yeah.
A load of the judges did wall balls with her.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we will share that at some point on our socials. That's definitely worth watching. So getting back to the journey back, we talked on the way up, didn't we? So you're aware of this part, but listener, from where I live in the world, there's two ways to get to London. There's you can go to Piccadilly and catch the train down the West Coast line, or you can go to Leeds and catch the East Coast. We've never done the East Coast ever, but we did it because we were feeling a bit Yorkshire and it was cheaper.
I like that. It's cheaper. That's the best way to do it, mate.
And it was great going down there. Actually, coming back, it was great as well because we had been double booked in our seats. Has this ever happened to you when you're on a railway? You get your seat allocated and then someone comes along and says, oh, that's my seat. And you've both got a ticket with the same number.
Yes, I many years ago I did it, especially when I was catching the intercities and that when I lived down south and I'd come up and I'd go back down because it was easier to travel on train. But yeah, quite often. And I think trains are renowned for it. They actually sell twice as many tickets because they don't expect people to turn up to them.
So that's exactly what happened to us. And the other person had a young kid, and it's like, yeah, we're not going to be the horrible people to force this single mother and their kid to stand up. So we let them take the chair, and we talked to a guard or someone on the platform. He said, "Oh, just go in that carriage. That one's unrestricted." And usually on an unrestricted, that means shoulder to shoulder with people, doesn't it? It means
Yes, it
you've no chance. This carriage had 5 people in it.
Oh no! So you can sprawl out whatever you want.
Exactly. We got a table to ourselves on the way back. So, listener, London North East Rail is the way to go if you're going to London. Find a way to do it that way. But we then got to Leeds, and it's in Yorkshire where everything fell apart.
Oh, don't tell me you had a bad experience in Yorkshire.
Well, God decided that Yorkshire needed a wash. I don't know why, but on Monday, I swear I saw a guy with a beard trying to collect in animals 2v2.
You're quite right. I remember this downpour because I'd been in the garden in the morning, actually, catching a few more rays in the morning, and we couldn't believe how much it actually rained. That our patio was about an inch deep in water.
It was ridiculous. And unfortunately, there's only one way through on a bank holiday because one track is subject to engineering works, because of course it is. There's only one way through from Leeds to Rochdale and that area.
Yeah.
That's via Bradford and the tunnel.
And was the tunnel flooded?
Yeah, the tunnel had fish in it.
Oh, the tunnel had fish in it. Was it seriously bad going through? Did they let the trains run through it, or did they put you on buses?
Every train cancelled. No luck in terms of any buses. They said, oh, we're going to get some buses. They never turned up. Eventually, TransPennine started running a different way. So they would head south down by Sheffield and Staley Bridge and that way to Manchester. So that avoided the tunnel. But they were 1 hour. And yeah, it was like the last train out of wherever. Yeah, it was one of them. So in the end, we had to call my stepdad, who came without question. This is why it's important to keep your family close and that. Not because you want to use them. I really didn't want to make this call because he's getting on a bit, but he was literally the last person or the last option, shall we say. And I rang him, and without question, he came. And I felt really bad doing it, but we would have been stuck in Leeds. We absolutely would have been. So thank you to Jim for doing that. I probably said that wrongly in that, he's not the last person. He's almost the first person you ring. But he's also, you don't want to because you don't want to put him out.
I get that. No, I like that. That's good though that he did travel. It's great, like I say, it's great to have family and that around you and friends and that's what the community is like, and that's what the OCR community is like. I think if you'd have gone on Facebook or Instagram and said, I'm stuck in Leeds, anyone give me a lift, I'm sure the community would have rallied and someone would have given you a lift for you.
I'm sure they would have. And I will admit, Alan, it was a tough run thing. It was ring my stepdad or ring you. Stepdad won because you'd been sunbathing. I thought you might have been sunburnt.
I could have looked sunburnt. Let's go to talk a bit about running in. I want to bring up, because I thought you might have brought this up last week, but you didn't. Alexa Curtis. Have you seen this? Alexa Curtis, the influencer, I don't know what she's an influencer for, but decided that she was going to run the Brooklyn Half Marathon and she was going to film it. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, Ian. But she doesn't pay. Doesn't pay entry.
She doesn't. Oh, she bandited the race and said, oh, I knew a friendly security guard who told me where it started and where it ended.
And it's absolutely unbelievable that anyone would actually bandit the race. We've seen it happen a few years ago. I haven't seen it for a while, if I'm honest, in OCR. I did see it, once or twice back in late 2018, 2019. Not seen it for a while. But she's actually proud of herself to be able to, well, that's how she feels. It's split the whole community. But if someone's doing this, what does this mean now for other events? Does this mean other people are going to run? So an example of this is I came back on last week, and then last Saturday, my friends, Robert and Jamie, were doing Steel City 60. I could have gone, I could have ran it with them. However, I didn't, but I met them and ran one leg of it. And I got to the checkpoint. The way I ran, I went from checkpoint 3 to checkpoint 4 and a little bit further. And when we went past checkpoint 4, the guy said, are you going to have something to eat, mate? And I was like, no, I'm not running this. I'm just here to support these two for 10, 15 miles and that. People could have done that race, that Steel City 60, and ran it and gone to all the checkpoints and everything else. And this is what she's done. And I'm finding it annoying, Ian.
It is. And unfortunately, I'm going to say it comes down to innocence, ignorance, in that she's not really a runner. She did train for this because initially she tried to paint it like a case of, oh, I just saw it and I decided to run it, go out there and do it. And then people look back through her socials, Alan, and found she'd been training for it, which, be careful what you post on the internet. But I don't think she knew how serious banditing the race actually is. Not just for safety, it's just disrespectful.
Exactly. you've got the safety aspect, you've got the disrespectful part of it. And I know it happens quite a lot in America, the big marathons and stuff like that, doesn't it? I do see quite a lot of posts of people getting pulled off. There's one, I think it might be the Miami Marathon or the Miami 10K, that literally the race director stands 100 meters from the end of the finish line and just literally spots people who don't have official bibs on, and drags them off course, and and things like that. And I've heard that there's people that actually make fake bibs, bibs in the numbers that put on, and things like that. I just find it annoying. It's just wrong.
Oh, you wouldn't dream of going into a restaurant, eating, and then leaving.
Well, I did when I was younger, only because it was part of the football, initiation, and the last person in the restaurant had to pay for everyone's meal. But yeah, you're quite right. I would never.
Not meant to.
I would never
Okay.
get up and run. No, yeah, I would never get up and do a runner and leave the restaurant out of pocket.
But there is a little bit of an addendum to this. Fair play to Alexa when she noticed how much heat she was getting and not the reaction she expected. This is the funny thing about social media. You can never judge how it's going to react. And in this case, it went against her. She expected this to be an inspirational story about how you can achieve what you set out to achieve. And no, it didn't do that. But once she realized the gig was up, she did make a donation of a race fee to a charity associated with the race.
Yeah, and that's a reasonable thing. I just think what she's done, will it influence, if she's an influencer, will it influence other people to go and try and do it? And I just hope it doesn't do that.
I'm hoping the vitriol it caused actually leads to the opposite thing of people thinking, oh, right, I better not do that.
Yes. And I hope that it does exactly the same. I hope it does exactly the same.
So what else has happened?
Well, what else has happened? I'm going to tell you what else has happened. You put this link on. A guy in the last 36 years has ran equivalent to one marathon every 13 days, and he has completed 1,000 marathons. Steve Edwards, at the Milton Keynes Marathon, completed his 1,000th marathon. Sorry, 43 years, not 36 years. 43 years. That's amazing.
He is. Having done a couple, I think he's a lunatic. You've done the distance too. Can you imagine doing that 1,000 times?
I think it's absolutely crazy. And from where I'm reading it as well, they were all like really, really good times.
I can't remember from the article. Were they all official marathons as well? So he was
all
actually
official
doing
marathons, yeah. And he run them all in sub 4 hours. So
gosh.
He ran 325 of them in sub 3 hours 15, 500 in sub 3 hours 20s, 801 in sub 3 hour 30. So, his best, and them numbers probably going to say they're not out to 1,000, but bearing in mind it includes the previous one as well, time wise. So, 325 in sub 3 hours and 15 minutes is pretty cool. But yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
Unfortunately, he can't do London Marathon next year because them times are still not good enough for good for age.
I like that.
Poor guy.
Yeah. But no, does this make him now the hardest man on the planet?
Potentially. Maybe he's no tough geezer or whatever that gentleman was called.
That's right. Oh, shall we talk a bit our OCR for a bit?
Let's talk a bit of OCR.
So a little bit of news. We have got down at Rumble Fitness on the 2nd of June, there is a Euro simulation, as well as the first TT event in the 3K series on the 2nd of June. So anyone who's down there, get yourself down, go check it out. I think that's a Sunday, 2nd of June, if I remember rightly.
I think you might be right, because I'm fairly sure that weekend was Rimini High Rocks and New York High Rocks. And I think it was 1st and 2nd of June weekend.
Yes. We have also, it's the UKOCR series race, number 3 this coming Sunday.
It's come around really quickly. It felt like forever between the 1st and the 2nd. And now the anticipation, Alan, we're going to get number 3.
Yeah, they're going to come thick and fast now. You know, the UZOP team are definitely earning their wages and their wage rise and things like that, which is absolutely great. Good to see as well. Whole new format. I don't know if you've seen the or listened to it in the Who's Ot review of Born Survivor. A whole different format to what they've ever done before, in terms of they reached out and asked some of the athletes for quotes and then sent them to me, and I had to like put them all in for them. It was amazing. I loved it. Listening to like Karen McQuarrie and Russell Walsh and everyone else and Dan Titcombe, and if I'm going to miss people off, but just listening to people talk about the race as well as the Who's Up team, I think it was brilliant.
It really was, Alan. I've not listened to the finished product, but of course, because I'm in the same group and I saw them coming through, I did have a sneaky listen. And yeah, they were all really good. I've no idea how you managed to get them off of WhatsApp onto the podcast, Alan. And that was probably magic that you learnt in Turkey.
No, I'm going to say a big thank you to Will there for actually just sending it to me in wave format. So big thank you to Will doing that. He did a little bit of work on that for me. So big thank you to him. But no, it was a whole different way of doing it, and I like it. I think they're going to do it again. Well, I hope they're going to do it again. Because I just think it was great. So I don't know whose idea it was, whether it was Chris's, Will's, or Becky's, but team, you are doing OCR proud in the UK.
Well, they were probably inspired by you, Alan, because you've been figuring out ways to work less while still producing a podcast every Monday and Wednesday. So they're obviously inspired by you. I've not listened to the episode yet, but did they talk for like 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think they did about 15 minutes. No, they did a bit more than 15 minutes, but it was just really good. It was just different, Ian. You know, I know Matt B. Davis used to go to events and he would record after the event and put it out in a podcast. And I used to like listening to that. And he'd have a conversation. There would be 10, 15-minute conversations, which I thought was good. And I liked this where the team kept it quite short. So there was like 2 or 3 questions to each one of them. Really nice and short and straight to the point, you know, and it was just good. And it gives our athletes a little bit of exposure to media, because if some of these athletes go on to become really exceptional runners in the running world, which is quite easy to do, it's going to give them a little bit of exposure.
I think it's a great idea. And yeah, I loved when Matt used to do that. I know you and me have done that a few times. And again, we perhaps got a little bit lazy on it because it does take a while to produce that kind of thing, because every 5 to 10 minute clip actually takes 20 to 30 minutes, doesn't it? Because you've got to rustle up the person and so on. But yeah, well done to them. So did they interview them there, or was it literally a case of they sent questions out?
I'm not going to let people on that because I'm not 100% certain. But what I do know is the pint size OCR this week, Libby is at Spartan, and Libby is going to do on-site interviews. So if anyone's at Spartan, reach out for Libby after you've raced or before you've raced. If she's got a recorder on her, she will do on-site interviews. She's only doing 4 or 5 minutes for people, so go and reach out for her. And hopefully we'll see you on the pint size OCR next week, especially the kids. If you're a pint size, go and see Libby.
Or if you're just short.
Or if you're just short, go and see Libby. Or tall, or any size, go and see
any size. Go and see Libby.
Yeah. I digress there.
I was going to say, what else is happening?
Well, I digressed because I was talking about nuclear racers, and I was going to turn around and say, does anyone out there want to rabbit? Is anyone out there who would like to go rabbit, take your phone, do anything like that want to do it? I know that British Obstacle Sports have been putting great videos together. We're waiting for the Born Survivor one. If you fancy doing it, reach out to either to myself or to James, and that's James Burton, and we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can get you out there, and then you can just send us the finished article, and hopefully we can make up great videos. I loved the one the first race that we had at Tartan Warrior. I'm looking forward to Born Survivor. Last year we actually edited a few, but Feddy's much better than me at editing. So yeah, I'm gonna let Feddy crack on with that and keep all that keep all that good work there, because it's amazing to see things like that. And I love watching it. I actually love watching it. I love watching the races.
I do. It's the only thing I really watch on YouTube, because I know you watch a lot more YouTube than me, but I'll watch races on there. I'll occasionally watch the odd podcast, but I do struggle. It has to be a podcast which has something going on. If it's just two people talking, that doesn't do it for me. But if there's a screen and it's showing you stuff, I can watch that. But yeah, I will go on YouTube. I will watch OCR.
I can't watch much on YouTube unless it's OCR racing. I'm not a big fan of anything else on YouTube whatsoever. I can't. My friend Rob's got me involved into a podcast called, I say involved then, but into a podcast called Mr. Ballon. True crime stuff. Really, really good stuff. A bit strange, weird, and wonderful. Love it as a podcast, but it's also on YouTube. And I've tried to watch it on YouTube, and it's not just one person talking on the screen. They put pictures up and things like that as well. But it's just not the same. It's not the same listening to one person talk as it is on a podcast.
It is just a different experience, Alan. And yeah, you say you don't watch a lot of YouTube. You have occasionally clicked on some other things. I know. I think we've chatted about other things that you've watched in the past. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a sign that we're past it now, Alan. Because that's
I'm a 5-year-old in a 55-year-old body.
That's true. You know what, though? You're probably a star on Toptic, because I'm fairly sure that someone would have got that video of you trying to drown yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I knew I might actually put that on Toptic. The last video I put on Toptic was a camera one that got quite a lot of views. I think it went almost viral. But yeah, I might put this one on Toptic as well.
Yeah, and also share it in the pub, because we've neglected the pub this last week. I've been super busy. You've been chilling in a Turkish jail, so we need to go back in there. But saying that, what's been wonderful is a community is blossoming in there, isn't there, Alan? Because it used to be either you or me have to put something up. Now they just chat amongst themselves, and it's so nice to see. I know most of them know each other anyway from the outside world, but it is kind of nice to see them communicating and having fun and taking the mickey out of you and me.
Definitely taking the mickey out of you and me, which is always a good thing. Which reminds me that last week you wanted to know how old I was in months.
I did. How old are you in months?
Well, I thought I'd go one stage further, and I'm actually 28,984,320 seconds old.
21, 22, 23.
20.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah. No, that was a great idea in months. But it was a good conversation you had about when do people stop talking in months and go to years? Because I think Meg hit it on the nail when she said 18 months. So I think you got 18 months and then you go 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
I think that's probably right. Although you could still say a year and a half.
Yeah.
I can see that argument. But yeah, when you start saying the 28 months, just tell her, they're just 2-year-olds in a bit.
And I think parents will actually go the 2, or they'll go the 2.5 nearly, or they've just gone 2.5, or they're nearly 3. They always nearly or just gone, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And it was good having Meg on because she was a Spartan expert, wasn't she? So she covered a lot about what's happening. I hadn't realized half of stuff she was talking about, the controversy that's happening in the elite field, which upset me a little bit, to be fair.
Yeah, and I didn't know that either. I've got to admit, I'm not racing like I used to race. Even though I do keep my ear to the floor, I'd not heard the rumours about it and the discontent. I want to turn around and say I get it all, because I do get it all. But I want to see the best racers so the best athletes in the best races. I just think they've gone from one extreme to the other, where before it was very easy to qualify as an elite. You applied for your card, you got your card. But I think they've gone a little bit the other way now, and I think they've got to find a balance. I think they probably will do. I think they will find a balance in the next coming years.
Just hope that they haven't put off a whole generation of racers before we get to that point. That's the worry.
I don't think they will, if I'm honest. I think if if they're quite quick and they change it, you know, they might even change it. You know what Spartan are like? They might even change it on the fly halfway through the year, you know, and they might turn around and say these people who raced last month actually do qualify. You never know what's going to happen with Spartan, but they do tend to change things on a regular basis, so it wouldn't surprise me if it got changed before the end of the year.
No, that's true. And speaking of which, it's Spartan this weekend.
It certainly is. It's a big weekend this weekend. We have got, I do believe we've got Bog Commander, we have got Spartan, we've got Nuclear Rush, we've got Nuclear Fit, McTuffin Fife. There's several pretty muddies flying around, I do believe.
And there's an inflatable 5K.
And an inflatable 5K. Yeah, there's Fife pretty muddy, Leicester pretty muddy, Decker Spartan at Forders.
I forgot that Forders had a Decker on this weekend. I wonder if there's still tickets.
Yeah. That's a good point. Shall I have a look?
Have a look, Alan. What day is it on?
It is on the Sunday the 12th. And yes, you can still purchase tickets. £55 for single and £35 per person for a two-man team by the looks of it.
I think it might have gone up a fiver. I'm fairly sure Strong used to be 49, so it's gone up to a fiver, but it's still not bad if you're in the local area for a medal, a t-shirt, and quite a fun little challenge. So is that Decker Strong then, yeah?
It's a Decker Strong, yes.
Perfect. Right, I will speak to the intern because there is a good chance we'll be hungover because it's Eurovision on Saturday night and we always have a Eurovision party.
Oh, is it Eurovision Song Contest this weekend?
Is talk about a massive weekend.
So who's the British act? Because I don't follow Eurovision anymore. So who's the British act in Eurovision?
It's Ollie, who's better known as Years and Years.
No idea.
You probably know one of his songs. I'm not going to sing it because that's a terrible idea. But if you Google him and his best three songs come up, I bet you if you play a couple of them, you probably won't recognize it from the lyrics. But if you play a couple, you'll get it. I was going to say he kind of sounds like Coldplay, but he doesn't kind of sound like Coldplay. But he sings emotional type songs like that.
So Ollie Alexander. Is that right?
It is Years and Years.
Let's have a look. Sanctify, is that one of them? That rings a bell.
Sanctify is one of them.
I don't know him. I don't know any of them. I've heard of that one, but I don't know any of the other ones. Hey ho. No,
you're not sure.
No, I'm not sure. Good luck to him anyway. Good luck is all I'm going to say to him. And that. Last bit of news from me, Ian. I see that Torres are going to the British Champs again, going to supply the rig holds and that, which I think is great news, which is going to be at the Spartan, which is another UKOCR series race. So keep an eye out on that.
What do you do again? Sorry, Alan.
Sorry?
What do Torres do?
They do the rig holds. So, you know, the handles. So we actually have them at overload. We have quite a few at overload on our rig there. So the like spaceship ones, the L-shaped ones, the grenades, which Nuclear have. Nuclear have grenade ones, which are really tough to grab hold of. They're like very short and stumpy and quite thick. In fact, when I was down there at the UKOCR event, a couple of the Nuclear Phoenix team were trying to miss out the grenade. So they were actually taking a big swing and missing that particular holdout because it was that tough to grab hold of.
That's interesting. It kind of gives a whole more depth to your tactics, doesn't it? Because suddenly the rig is a little bit longer from side to side.
Yes, definitely. Do we think Mo's going to take it this weekend? What's your picks for this weekend? Do you think Mo's going to take it again, or do you think Dan or Russell's going to step up?
I've got them written down. I'll let you know next week.
I like it. I like it. I'm going to go. I'm actually going to give you my picks here, Ian. I'm in no particular order. I'm going to go top four for you. Dan Tickham, Morgan Maxwell, Russell Walsh, and then I'm going to say Alex Young. I'm going to throw Alex Young in there. I saw him running down at Nuclear when I was down there, and he is on fire, that man. So watch out for him. A lot of other good races down there, Dassos and that. that's going to run. If I haven't mentioned names, I do apologize. But there's so many great races that are going to rock up. In the women's, I don't know. I think Imi might really give Fedi a run, but I also think Tamar's got it as well. I think Tamar might just sneak in there and surprise people. And if Karen's going down, she's always a force to be reckoned with. I feel that Tamar's running really, really well at the moment, and I don't think she's peaked. So if she can get it right down there and she's injury free, I think she's going to shake things up. And of course, it's Becky. Becky will definitely be in the mix.
And I'm not going to say any more. I know we joke about my predictions. It's become a running joke, but part of this is because I have the curse of a commentator, Alan. I really do have a curse of a commentator. I was streaming, as you know, we did High Rocks on the IG because we'll try and stream when we can, and it just fell right. So we did the women's pro race, we did the second half of the men's pro race, Alan, and then we did the mixed doubles on the Sunday, which was really great. But in the women's pro race, I was saying our Patreon and our podium Patreon placer, Bryony Keys.
Yeah.
I was saying, oh, she's probably the odds-on favourite here. She didn't have the best race.
Ian, you are going to lose us Patreon. Stop it.
So this is why I'm not going to say any names because I will curse them. But I will say what was good, Alan, is we did the mixed doubles on the Sunday. And this was actually a request. I was doing the night before, I was doing the pro, and someone just posted on, Ian, will you do wave one mixed doubles? It's someone we know. It's Zoe Haig. Her and her other half is Danny Ray, good friends of the podcast. Her sister is Molly Mayhaig. Does that name mean anything to you?
It rings a bell.
Yeah, but her sister's Molly Mayhaig. But Zoe and Danny, great High Rocks athletes, really really nice people from up this neck of the woods. And because we asked nicely, it was like, you know what, I'll go and film it. I had no idea how many people would log on to watch it because Zoe and Danny were on it.
Oh, wow.
This was 8 o'clock on a Sunday on an Instagram live, and we got 500, 600 people all there at the same time.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And you know what was really good about it?
Go on.
How curious they were. Many of them, this was the first time they've ever seen a High Rock. So they were asking all kinds of nice questions, like, oh, how heavy is the sleds and that kind of thing. And I enjoyed it. It was a different experience. I enjoyed it. Like you said earlier with the Who's Hot, doing something different. This was something different, and I just enjoyed doing it.
Do you think in OCR it just made me just think of something there? There's a lot of people who don't know everything, like we've been in it for such a long time now, and probably, we know quite a lot. Oh, we think we do. Do you think there's people frightened because they don't know a lot? And I think we've spoke about this before. Sometimes maybe putting the videos out there of how to climb walls and things like that. And there's a lot of people who need a Q&A session or something like that. I don't know.
I think they do. And they also need race directors to kind of cater for them a little bit as well. It's not easy being a race director, as you know, because on one hand, you've got these people who've been doing OCR for 10 years and they want their next fix, their next difficult thing, their next Rubik's Cube that they can't solve.
Yeah.
However, even if all them people turned up to your race, you probably wouldn't turn a profit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have a great mass of people who probably would like to do an OCR, but they find it a little bit intimidating. And how on earth do you cater to both of them?
That's one of the big questions, that I guess for me, the only people that have got it right, and I'm giving them a few challenges today, is a shout out today, is Nuclear Racers, because they cater for both the elite athlete, the ones who are right at the top of the game, right down to the ones who just rock up, who are going to be wearing the Adidas Gazelles, and they're going to wear the cotton t-shirts and the the sweatpants and go around and enjoy it just as much as the elites, but they're going to take much longer. And they seem to get it right. So whatever magic sauce nuclear are using, I'm going to try and get it.
Try and bottle it up. Of course, we should say that Tough Mudder caters very much for those who are doing it for the first time. But the elite athletes are not going to get a Rubik's Cube in Tough Mudder. They might run it for fun to remind themselves why they do it. But yeah, how nuclear managed to cater for both, I have no clue. But yeah, it was just nice, Alan, to see people at the start of their journey. It was really kind of cool. And you know what? I do like streaming. Yeah, it is something I wish we could do more of it. I wish that the 4G signal was better anywhere on OCR was happening, so we could actually do proper streams.
That would be absolutely amazing, wouldn't it? I think you can buy booster signals that you can't even fit them to your car or somewhere close by that give you much better signal within a certain range. I have seen them, but I think they're like thousands of pounds in.
And again, probably the OCR that you'd look to stream would be the short course stuff, the 3K stuff, because you need to be able to see that it's a race. Yeah, it is really fun when you see extended highlights of a 10-kilometer to 10-mile race, like the ones that Fedi's putting out. That's real fun. When it's not a close race, it's not as much fun.
No. I love like Spartan in America, how they used to do it with their rabbits. They used to have someone, they had rabbits running, but they also had someone on a quad bike and that which would film and things like that. But did they do live to tape, or is it tape to live or something like that? Did they film it and then they'll put it out quite quickly afterwards? They do a little bit of editing and put it out quite quickly afterwards.
You think it was live to tape. I think High Rocks used that technique in Cologne for the last chance qualifier when we did a live. They did live to tape because it's only 40 minutes. But I think live to tape's still good. If you can get it out quick enough, then absolutely. And we do need more videos in OCR. And I'm trying to think why some of the time trials aren't videoed more. I know some of them are. Could it be the fact that the time trial, it's not an actual race? Do you need to have that race?
I don't know, because I would also watch the time trials. I mean, I guess the hard part of a time trial is you want to see the best racers. Whatever we talk about, yeah, we do sometimes want to see the fun runners and things like that. But when you're watching a competitive race, you want to see the best racers out there. You know what I mean? Or whether it be age group or whether it be elite, top level elite, it doesn't really matter. You want to see the best racers. And in a time trial, you don't always get two good races going head to head. Maybe that's what needs to be done, a little bit of work behind the scenes that, like when we're going to go out there, we're going to see the likes of Fedi against Tamar up there in the same waves head to head, because that was the thing at Nuclear that I noticed when we went down and did the UKOCR 3K down there. We had Tamar in one wave and we had Fedi in another wave. And what we need to see is maybe seed them. Maybe that's the key going forward, that you have seeds, and them seeds are determined on maybe a last race, or whatever. But we get 5 people of the same caliber all racing together, because the men's race was absolutely amazing down there, because you had 5 men, all of the very similar caliber. There was literally less than 100 meters between them at like the 1 kilometer mark.
Which is what you want to see. You want to see that race. And getting back to this past weekend, the most exciting race to actually watch was the mixed doubles, because I don't know if it was set up like this, but the top 4, there was like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds between them.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And I'll give a shout out to Deadly Dozen, by the way. Matt Rigby's mate, who's putting that on at Macclesfield. It's a fitness race, and they are doing, before it, you've got to do a workout, which they're calling a labour, which is preceding. So the top 6 men and top 6 women, they'll have them going out first.
All right.
So you'll then have a bit of a race. Of course, there's a good chance that, say, people 7, 8, 9 may actually be better at the race than the top 6 in the end, but you're getting it close enough so that it should be a good race.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe that's what we should need to look at. Maybe that's what we need to look at.
Yeah. Alan, final thing, we were talking about the grips, weren't we?
It was.
Do you want to just shout out our good friend who's got a rig for sale?
Oh, yeah, Rick Burgess is currently selling the small rig. So I think he already sold it. It was one of the lots that he sold when he was packing up the Lion's Den. For whatever reason, I think it's not being picked up. So he is reselling it. It's currently on the Obstacle UKOCR Obstacle Racing UK Facebook group, not our page. It's in the group. Rick's got it on there. It's got holds and things like that on. I don't know how much he's wanting. You've got to send him a private message. It's a great little piece of kit, all galvanized steel, so it doesn't need painting. It's never going to rust. So yeah, anyone who's interested in a rig, reach out, speak to Rick, and you can get yourself a rig for your garden or for whatever.
And then you can go to Spartan and buy a load of holds to go on it, like some grenades.
Exactly. So get some grenades on there.
Right, and on that, Alan, I'm going to say it's goodbye from me.
Ian, it's been a pleasure to come back and talk to you and to all our listeners out there. I hope I didn't bore you with my Turkish stories. I hope you enjoyed them. I have plenty more, but we're not going to give you any more of them. But thank you for listening. You take care. Have a great weekend this weekend if you are racing. And if you're not, stay safe, look after yourself, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye.